In the waning years of the 16th century, during the reign of King Gormond the Gluttonous, the royal court of Eldenwold was notorious for its excessive feasts and endless merriment. Gormond himself, a man of prodigious appetite and notorious indulgence, was a figure of fascination and ridicule alike. Chroniclers of the era described him as a king whose belly led him more than his mind, and it was during one infamous midsummer banquet that the seeds of the song "Choke, O King" were sown. According to surviving diaries of the court bard, Sir Trindle of Harrow, the inspiration struck one evening when the king, seated at a table laden with meats, pies, and roasted geese, grew so ravenous that he abandoned all decorum. Tales recount that Gormond, in a frenzy of hunger and pride, attempted to swallow an entire goose in a single bite. The goose became lodged, and the king's flailing and crimson-cheeked panic sent ale, gravy, and crumbs flying across the hall. Courtiers and fools alike roared with laughter, while the king's own terror became the centerpiece of the evening's entertainment. Sir Trindle, ever the quick-witted bard, immediately began composing verses to immortalize the spectacle. The song's structure, 4 tightly rhymed quatrains, was designed for ease of recitation so that jesters, minstrels, and traveling musicians could perform it at taverns across Eldenwold. Its language is deliberately vivid, capturing the grotesque comedy of Gormond's plight. The stuffed cheeks, the stuck pudding, the gravy shooting from his nose, and the absurd reactions of the onlookers. By 1580, Choke, O King had circulated widely beyond the court, appearing in handwritten songbooks, painted on tavern walls, and even performed during harvest festivals. It became not only a humorous cautionary tale about excess and gluttony, but also a cultural touchstone, a song that simultaneously mocked and celebrated the larger-than-life follies of kingship. What makes Choke, O King enduring even centuries later is its meticulous attention to physical comedy and its ability to evoke the chaotic, almost theatrical atmosphere of a medieval feast. Every verse corresponds to an imagined stage direction: Gormond's first indulgent bites, the catastrophic goose, the stuck pudding, and the king's final dramatic flop, all of which were likely acted out by minstrels to the delight of audiences both noble and common. Thus, Choke, O King from 1580 was born, a song of gluttony, horror, and hilarity, a living portrait of a king undone by his own appetite, forever enshrined in the annals of Eldenwold's musical folklore. King Gormond ascended to the throne of Eldenwold at the age of 21, following the sudden death of his elder brother who, according to rumor, choked on a particularly stubborn meat pie. From the outset, Gormond's reign was defined less by political topics and more by his legendary appetite and lavish indulgence. Chroniclers described him as a man of considerable girth and boundless stomach, whose very presence at court could intimidate both nobles and servants alike, not through authority, but through the sheer force of his culinary ambition. Gormond's early life was marked by an obsessive fascination with food. As a child prince, he reportedly demanded that his tutors instruct him in the arts of cooking alongside reading and swordsmanship. He would often sneak into the kitchens at night, sampling every dish and leaving the cooks in despair at the sheer volume consumed. By the time he became king, his knowledge of pastries, roasts, and exotic meats rivaled that of the royal chefs themselves, though his expertise was far more devoted to consumption than creation. Despite, or perhaps because of his indulgence, Gormond cultivated a unique rapport with his subjects. While nobles whispered about his weaknesses and advisors fretted over his gluttony, commoners adored him. Market vendors noted that he would occasionally descend to the streets in disguise, sampling pies from local bakers and tossing coins freely, remarking with a booming laugh, "If the king cannot eat, who will?" These displays of largesse earned him the title "the People's Belly," a moniker both affectionate and teasing. Gormond's court was equally infamous. Endless feasts, ale-soaked tournaments, and grotesque theatrical spectacles were routine under his rule. Artists, minstrels, and jesters thrived in this environment of excess, often creating elaborate performances designed specifically to amuse the king's appetite, both literal and metaphorical. His legendary Midsummer Banquet of Catastrophes, during which he inspired the song Choke, O King, exemplifies this. Yet Gormond was not without cunning. Though often underestimated due to his indulgences, he possessed a sharp wit when it came to diplomacy. Treaties were occasionally sealed not with formal ceremonies, but over prodigious banquets where Gormond's sheer charm and the temptation of endless delicacies disarmed visiting dignitaries. Historians later speculated that his gluttony paradoxically became a political tool, leveraging spectacle to assert influence and maintain peace within and beyond Eldenwold. King Gormond's final years were a mixture of legendary excess and quiet reflection. Chroniclers suggest he grew somewhat aware of the satire around him, particularly after widespread popularity of Choke, O King. Yet he reportedly laughed at the immortalization of his folly, claiming it better to be remembered as a man who lived fully, ate boldly, and brought laughter to the halls of Eldenwold, than to fade into the annals of sterile, austere kings. Upon his death in 1587, Gormond left behind a kingdom that was stable, prosperous, and culturally vibrant, thanks in no small part to the lively court life he fostered. Minstrels continue to sing of his excess, and for generations the image of a rotund, red-faced monarch choking on a goose remained an enduring symbol of both gluttony and the joy of life.